We often get asked, what is the difference between a flat panel detector and a line scanner? When to use them, how to use them, why to use them. So in this video, we're gonna explain what's a flat panel detector, what's a line scanner, and then figure out which types of applications require one or the other. So here's the difference between a line scan and a flat panel detector. So they're both devices used to image samples on an X-ray machine. There are some fundamental differences that you can probably tell by my very simplistic drawing here. A flat panel has a matrix of pixels, right? So you have pixels in X and Y, right? And each pixel has a specific size. And depending on the panel, these pixels can be smaller or larger. Another interesting parameter of the panel is how fast it is and what kind of scintillator it has. For more information, by the way, you have all this in our X-ray inspection book. Page 12 talks about it, and then we have some more imaging parameters in other parts of the book. So I highly recommend you download this. Tony is going to put the link to download the book here in our comments. But let's go back here. So the flat panel detector has XY, and there's a certain speed at which you read these detectors, right? In frames per second. How many of this matrix you read every second that has essentially a snapshot of the sample. The interesting thing about the flat panel is that you can take an image of the panel stationary. So the sample is just sitting there. You take an image just like on your phone, right? You just take an image and you're going to see the X-ray of your sample on the X-ray machine. A line scanner, on the other hand, is this long strip of pixels, right? Each one of these squares here is a pixel on the line scan. And unlike the flat panel, the line scanner requires you to move the sample across in front of line scanner. You've seen this at airports. Those airport scanners or X-ray machines, they have line scanners inside them. So you have to move it through a conveyor belt or stage in such a way, in a very specific speed, right? All this plays into, we're gonna have another video talking about details, how the line scan work and how TDIs work, what's the difference between a standard line scanner and a TDI. But that's next video. We're gonna add that to our X-ray University. But a simple line scanner uses by reading multiple times this line. And then what you do is every time you read a line is basically one strip of your X-ray sample, right? And then you move the object a little bit and you take another snapshot and you read it. And you go by reading those strips on your X-ray sample, on the sample, an X-ray image, by combining them together, you build a nice image of your sample. When do you use a line scanner? There's some specific reasons why you're gonna use it. For example, on a line scanner, you can go really fast, right? You can be reading this line really, really fast, so you can have objects flying by much faster. You can't do that on the flat panel. You also, in an X-ray machine with a line scanner, imagine you don't need an X-ray source that shines the whole sensor like this on a flat panel. With a line scan, you can have a super narrow X-ray source that only shines on a little strip that shines right on top of the line scanner, thus allowing us to not worry about, for example, having open sides like in a baggage scanner, right, at the airport. Those sides of the machine are open and they're safe because that X-ray beam is really narrow, only on top of the line scanner. And we achieve this by putting a collimator. So essentially what you do is you have an X-ray source that can be a regular beam, and you put 2 blocks of tungsten or lead with just a little window opening so the X-ray photons only shine through that gap, through that collimator, creating this really nice and sharp X-ray beam for the line scan. So very different uses, very different types of machines, right? When we are looking at a specific application, we essentially evaluate how the sample is moving in and out of the machine, and then based on that, we can assess if the best thing to do is to use a flat panel or to use a line scanner. Hope this was useful. If you have any questions, please let us know, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.